I think MicroStrategy I've got a big stake in MicroStrategy, and I remain extremely bullish. I think they are incredibly mispriced at the moment. But I heard Michael speaking recently, and he said the credit markets around the world, when they offer instruments in exchange for return, those instruments, like most people understand that a bank, will take security over a property. So, for example, I do first mortgage lending through a fund in Melbourne. So I give them money, they go and lend the money out to property developers, and they pay me a return, right? But that money is secured against a development site somewhere on the eastern seaboard of Australia. Loans that they make with the funds from me and millions of other investors are secured by, usually $15 million to $150 million loans to high net worth families, really established developers, right? But what's backing it is real estate. And if something goes wrong, they've got to take over a project because the developer went broke. They've got to go on site. They've got to put their own team in. They've either got to complete the project. They've got to sell. Like, it's not exactly pristine collateral because you can't get your money back out straight away. The only thing that saves you is the LVR. So they might only lend 60% of the valuation of the project on the day they lent the money, and then the developer advances the project. So obviously it's worth more when they usually collapse, and they can just take the project and sell it for a 40% discount if they had to recover the 60% that they initially lent. So it's a pretty safe bet, but it's far from pristine. If you think about, banks offering credit against cars or computers or mobile phone contracts, all those assets are depreciating like crazy, right? Whereas what Bish is saying is that MicroStrategy has an asset that is Bitcoin. It has a long-term growth rate that's been outstanding. It's pristine in the sense that it can be liquidated 24/7 instantly around the clock. So they're offering pristine collateral, and they're basically arbitraging the difference of what they're offering investors and the long-term growth of Bitcoin. So put another way, what he's basically doing is he's saying to the investment world, hey, look, you can go buy real estate if you're a real estate investor, and these are the reasons you would buy it. There's capital growth in real estate and there's cash flow. So what we're going to do is offer you an instrument that gives you capital growth and cash flow, and he's going to make it better than real estate because the underlying asset that he's going to go and buy with the money that you give him is going to outperform Bitcoin. Real estate. So he makes money on the arbitrage. When I say he, we as the shareholders of MicroStrategy make money because people who own MicroStrategy basically believe that Bitcoin is going to grow faster than every other asset in the world. And if you believe that, then basically when people give Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy money, he can then buy the Bitcoin and then create instruments. So it's really something people should learn more. Do you want to comment on that at all or add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, you really did nail it for me, because what it is there is an element of understanding how credit markets operate. And because you've understood first mortgage lending and you've got a fund exposure to that, it makes a lot of sense for you. But for a lot of viewers who might be watching at home, a lot of that may seem foreign or new, but that's okay. Credit is what drives economies. In a fiat world, credit is everything, all right? And credit expansion and therefore inflation is what drives asset prices and goods and services up. So understanding the credit market or how credit drives markets is super important. And so for me, I think that it's just fascinating that, you who have got this world of experience can just distill that in really simple ways for people to understand why we're actually so bullish on Bitcoin outside of number go up.
Think about the impact, guys, those listening, of what happened when the Australian government recently made it getting a house easier by changing the credit rules. From a 10% deposit or a 20% deposit was actually normally 20% deposit, they've dropped it to 5%, right? Now, the government said over 7 years, we expect the average house price to go up by $25,000 as a result of this policy. It went up $50,000 or $100,000 within the first month. What changed? Credit, right? Access to credit changed. So credit, when you understand credit, it's what drives house prices, it's what drives everything. If you drop the interest rates if Tesla offers cars on a 0.7% interest rate, and Hyundai or Toyota or whatever is still at 5%, well, Tesla sales are going to increase because credit's easier to get over there. So Saylor and what they're doing there is really quite interesting, and they have products coming out that, you know, like they're offering, like I have exited, and this is sort of the bet, the macro bet that Michael Saylor's making is that, and what Bish said here is that right now, Bitcoin is a $2 trillion asset in a universe of $1,000 trillion or a quadrillion dollars of global assets. 2 out of 1,000 units is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin outperforms all the other asset choices: real estate, gold, stock market, everything else. And so what he's doing is creating ways for investors in these slower horses to ultimately, they're buying Bitcoin, on-ramping, like people like me who've gone, I'm getting, you know, 8.5%, 9% in first mortgage lending. Maybe what I'll do is I'll take some of that money that's locked in that first mortgage lending and I'll give it to Michael Saylor, who ultimately just buys Bitcoin and offers me a better return than the first mortgage lending, and it's backed by Bitcoin. And he was recently interviewed on CNBS, CNBC, CNBS,